Okay, shake. Good boy. Okay, can you lay down? Good boy. Okay, okay. Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Safiya Dungarees from the Make It Simple book by Tilly and the Buttons. I had purchased this book when it first came out. I want to say it's probably 2 years ago, and I had always had the intention to sew my way through it. I wanted to make every garment and then review it for you all at the end. And I finally got some time off of work, so that's exactly what I did for my week off. I sewed my way through this book, and every week for the next 6 weeks I'm going to be doing a different garment for you guys, reviewing it, and then on week 7 I'm going to be giving you guys my thoughts on this book. So the first one that I had did was the Tilly, the Tilly and the Buttons Safiya trousers. So, but I ended up making it in the dungaree version, which is the one that Tilly's wearing on the front cover. And I really liked her garment, so I thought I would go ahead and make one up myself. I made it in this hot pink linen that I purchased from mood.com. They don't have this colorway anymore, but I'll also go ahead and link it in the description box below because they do have a few more colors if you wanted to check that out. And then I paired it with this Grainline Studio Lark tee. I made all 16 versions of this t-shirt for the Sew a Top Challenge that Claire from Penguin and Pear hosted last year. And if you're interested in that pattern and my thoughts, I'll also link that in the description box below. So, the Safiya trousers. I ended up making, okay, so you get this, which is like the basic pattern, right? And then you can also add some inseam pockets. So she gives you instructions on how to do that. You also get a version which is the dungarees, which is what I made. And then the last version that you can make with this is the wrap top play suit. So you get a lot of options for this pattern. So I had posted a picture on Instagram asking if you guys had any questions about the patterns in this book, and a lot of you had questions about the Safiya, and this was actually the one that had the most questions, and a lot of it had to do with fit. So I had made 4 muslins and I took notes on all 4 on what worked and what didn't, and I'm going to be talking through those, and hopefully that will answer the questions that you all had. So I do want to mention I knew that I was going to have to make a muslin because jumpsuits, rompers, play suits, whatever you call them, they never fit me properly, and that is like ready to wear or sewing patterns. So the main issue that I have with jumpsuits and rompers and all that, ready to wear or sewing, is that the bottom never fits me comfortably. And what I mean by that is I always feel like the body is too short and the pants are always riding up into areas where they should not be. And it's unflattering because my ass is just like eating the fabric. I know that's probably not like the most delicate way to put it, but I'm just being honest with you guys. I always have an issue with these kind of garments. So I knew that I was going to have to make a muslin just based off of my experience. So when I made this version, so my first muslin, I did not make any changes. I just made it straight how the pattern was supposed to be made, except I did go against Tilly's advice. In the book, she says that you need to, if you're in between sizes, you want to just make the size where your hips are going to fit. So for example, my measurements put me at a size 3 for the bust and waist and a size 4 for the hips. And I kind of just didn't listen to what she had to say. And I made a 3 for the top and a size 4 for the bottom. Now, I was able to get into it. I kind of had to wiggle in to get into the garment, and as I was like putting it on, I thought to myself, if if I had to make like an urgent trip to the bathroom, this may not be the best idea. So I just went ahead and made the size for the remaining muslins. Okay, let's see. So I'm going to, real quick, someone asked me about the how much ease you get in this garment. So for the bust, you get about 4¼ inches worth of ease. The waist, it looks like 9½ inches. Oh no, okay, my apologies, I'm reading this wrong. Okay, so for the bust, it doesn't really give you the finished garment measurement, so I'm just gonna go off of the waist and hips. So the waist, it looks like you get 10¼ inches worth of ease, and then for the hips, you get about 2½ inches. So a lot of room in the waist area, which is fine because you make a belt so you can cinch it in. Okay, so for muslin number 1, I made the size 3 for the top and size 4 for the bottom, and that's it. When I tried it on, the pants hit right above my ankle, so they were too long. I couldn't, like I said, I had to shimmy to get in and out. And then I also, it was uncomfortable in the pant area, and that was for the reasons I always have with all of these types of garments, is that the crotch is too short and it's uncomfortable to wear. So with all of that, I ended up having to shorten the pants 3¾ inches. I'm 5'5" for reference. And then I had to lengthen the crotch to 32 inches, and then I made this straight size 4, and then I added pockets in muslin number 2. For the crotch length, I split the difference 50-50, so I added 1 3/8 inch to the front and then to the back of the pattern. So after trying on muslin number 2, I did not like the pockets, and I'll go into why I didn't in just a minute. And then the crotch was a little bit better, but it ended up still being too short in the back, but too long in the front. It was like the fabric was bunching. So I knew that I had to fix the way that I split up how much length I needed to add. And the length of the pants hit me right where I wanted it to. So for muslin number 3, I ended up making it to where I added to the crotch 1 inch to the front and 1 3/4 inch to the back, and then I removed the pockets. It started to fit a little bit better, but it was still kind of tight around my butt, and I couldn't figure out why. Like, it was comfortable everywhere else, but it was still tight back there. So after doing some research, I had learned that if you're altering the crotch of your pants pattern, you sometimes are making your pattern pieces narrower, so that means that it's going to be a little bit tighter in the back end. And I actually didn't know that until I spent like a whole day researching why is this not working. So for my 4th and final muslin, all I did was I just did a full seat adjustment of 3/4 inch, and there is no reason why I came up with that specific measurement. I just kind of guessed what I needed, and it ended up working out. So, overall, I shortened the pants 3 3/4 inch. I lengthened the crotch to be 32 inches versus what it is originally, which I think is like in the 20s, 29 inches roughly. And then I had to do a full seat adjustment of 3/4 inch. Also, some things that I changed was the hem wants you to do like 1/4 inch and then 3/8 inch, or 3/8 inch and then 1/2 inch. I don't like doing that because I always burn my fingers with like little, when I turn the hems up a little bit, so I just did it 1/2 inch and then 3/4 inch. I hate facings, so I got rid of the facing and I just did a lining, and I did a little video clip on how I did the lining, so I will insert that at the end. And then for the straps, the seam allowance for the straps, they wanted it to be 5/8 inch, but I just did it 1/2 inch, and that was because it just made it a little bit easier to turn through for me. Okay, So the reason why I removed the pockets, let me go get that pattern piece real quick. Okay, so the pockets are pretty substantial. This is the pattern piece. And if you were making the Safiya, the dungarees, you take the top of your pocket and then you place it in the waistband right here in your garment. And I did that, and when I put my phone in it, they're big. You can put like a phone, your car keys, a lot of stuff in your pockets. But when I put my phone in it, the weight of my phone, because it was in the waistband, it was pulling this kind of down like this. And I personally didn't like how that looked. If I had like a smaller phone, maybe it wouldn't be such an issue, but I feel like phones these days are just little mini computers. They're pretty large. So I ended up taking the pockets out just because I didn't like how it was pulling down the front of the garment when I put stuff in them. What else? Okay, so I went over the fit, why I needed the four. Some tips for sewing these would just be make a muslin. It's not that the fit is bad, it's just that everybody's bodies are different, and you don't want to like go through making this garment and then it's not comfortable to wear, so definitely make a muslin. That's my top tip. Other than that, it's pretty simple. A beginner could make these, unless, well, I don't want to say unless. You will have to, you may have to make some fit adjustments. So if you're a beginner, I wouldn't shy away from this because it is a fairly simple pattern to put together. But just know that, you know, everyone's bodies are different and you may have to adjust the pattern like I did. What would I do differently next time? I wouldn't do anything differently. That's only because I made 4 of these, I guess 5 total. So everything that I wanted to do differently, I did with the muslins. Okay, ease of making. These are very simple to make. You don't have a whole lot of pattern pieces. You have your front and back pant leg, your front bodice, back bodice, and then your straps. So it's what, 5 pieces. You have optional pockets. The pockets weren't difficult to put in. Tilly actually does a really good job at explaining how to attach the pockets. And you make your own tie belt, and she gives you instructions on how to do that, and that's not hard at all because all you're doing is just cutting out a big rectangle. I will say that I did learn how to make thread chain loops for the first time, and I thought that was going to be a disaster, but it wasn't, because she has a tutorial on her blog on how to do it, and she actually gives you the link on where to find it. So yeah, like on this page. So she shows you in pictures, but then she'll also link it in the instructions if you need a video on how to do it. And I can also put that in the description box for you guys below too, if you'd like. Okay, the next one was the body long enough? And yes, I found the body to be fine. It was just, you know, the crotch length was not long enough, and that was what I had to do a lot of fitting on. And then did I have to adjust the rise? No, the only, like I said, I just had to adjust the length of the crotch mainly. So overall, this was a pretty simple pattern. I would make these again. They're really comfortable. I really like how they look in a linen. They're kind of like that slouchy. They're easy to wear. And now that I've figured out, you know, the fitting issue that I like I said, that I always have, they're fairly simple to make. So in this book, she puts a time on like the average time you can expect to complete this garment. So, okay, sorry guys, my camera just cut out. So I think where I left off was that she tells you kind of what to expect time-wise in each portion, each garment. And so for the cutting time, the average is about 30 minutes, and the sewing time was 2.5 hours. I didn't time myself for cutting, but for sewing, I actually completed these in 1 hour, 27 minutes, and 5 seconds. Now, granted, I did make 4 other versions of these, So I think I had gotten pretty proficient. I really didn't need to reference the instructions so much, but that just shows you like how quickly you can make these. Because I'm pretty slow at sewing, and I was able to do it in under an hour and a half. Alright, so that's actually all I have for this pattern. If you guys have any questions or if I forgot something, please let me know in the description box below. Next week I'm going to be reviewing the Tabitha, which is actually pretty simple make, as the book says. And yeah, I think that's all I have for you guys. If you have if you want to see how I did the lining for the bodice, I'm going to insert that video clip at the end, so stick around for that. And I'll be seeing you next week. Bye. Okay, so this is what the bodice looks like with the lining sewn in. So you see here how by making the pattern piece longer, it made the lining longer, and that's because when I put this on, I'm going to iron this up and use this to encase my seam allowance. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you what I mean once I put it together. Okay, so I went ahead and attached the bodice and the pant together. When you do this, you want to make sure that you're not actually attaching your lining to it. Make sure you keep it separate or else it won't work. And then I went ahead and folded it and pressed it. And then I'm going to stitch along so you see how like it will hide my seam allowance. I do want to point out that I don't think I needed to add all that extra length to my pattern piece because there's a lot of extra fabric here. So that may be something if you want to do this, maybe not add so much, but just kind of play around with it. It's the fun of sewing, is learning new things. But yeah, so this is my final step to finishing this, and it'll be nice and tidy on the inside.